you got anything else for the people this week before we make a video that we're already making?
So on Monday, March 9, in Mexico, they are having Dia Sin Nosotras, a day without us, to highlight the violence that's been happening against women and the rise of the violence that's happening against women.
Only in Mexico?
Only in Mexico.
Why did they call it a day without us? Who's the us?
The women. Nosotras.
You said the women.
The women.
Women.
So they're asking women not to go to work, not to go shopping, not to shop online, not to go to restaurants. Basically just stay at home and do nothing.
Why?
Because...
Stay at home? I thought there was a meeting thing.
Well, I'm sure that there's some sort of parade or something, or like march in bigger cities. But for the people I know, we're just staying home. If you have to go to work, because some of the people that I work with have to be there, they're asking them to wear purple. So this was all prompted because on February 9th, a woman was beaten, stabbed, skinned, and disemboweled by her boyfriend because he was angry at her.
Where?
In Mexico City. And then on February...
Sounds like a bit overkill.
Yeah.
The,
What the frick would you skin somebody?
There
That's
were...
like too much
Disembowel them.
But there were also
None of that.
several other, what they're calling femicides, that happened on February 9th in Mexico City, including a 7-year-old girl taken from a school. This was a big deal in our school because we're so, like, our school is completely enclosed by a wall that has guards at every entrance, and you can't get into the building. You can't even get onto the campus after a certain time without being in the computer and having the proper ID and blah, blah, blah. But these teachers, the child wasn't picked up on time. And so the teachers just said, okay, stand here. And when your parents come, you go. She's 7 years old. And the child was abducted and raped and killed and found in a plastic bag in the city. And so this was all on February 9th. All these things were happening.
Yeah, but what happened on February 8th?
A lot. And other more.
That's what I'm saying.
They're
There's been
saying
a whole lot more.
There was a record number of 3,825 women killed in just 2019 because of domestic violence and whatever. Rape.
No, but why are they saying stay home on
Because
one
it's-
day and not every other day?
Because it's a nationwide protest to get the government to actually do something about the violence against women. If they show the government what it's like for a society without women, because women aren't valued. They don't value the things. So imagine, I work with primarily women. There are, 60 plus staff members in just the kindergarten alone, and only 3 or 4 of them are male.
I know, but you said that obviously not every woman is going to stay home.
No, because some of them can't. Some of them aren't allowed to stay home.
Right, like I mean, if it's a protest and they're participating in the protest, then yes, you would break the rule and stay home.
So,
You can't really have an entire a day with every single.
But there's
woman
enough
not at their
teachers
job
that are-
and not at-
there's enough women who are not who are not going to go work that day, who are participating in the protest in one way or another, that it will make an impact, especially in our environment. So we weren't allowed to tell the parents whether or not we were coming on Monday. I only had one mom ask me out of 24 parents, or 24 sets of parents. I only had one mom ask me, and I had to say to her, I'm sorry, I can't tell you my decision. I can't publicize it. So I'm staying home.
Okay, well, you just
We had a survey that was emailed to us, and we had to answer all these questions about whether we were coming or staying, or like staying home. And if you fill out the survey, and there was a time limit, you had until like 4 o'clock that day. The next morning, when I got to work, the person that's part of the government, the SEP, she came to every classroom of the teacher who had said, yes, we're not coming tomorrow, or coming on the 9th, and we had to sign papers saying that we weren't coming, and SEP was basically protecting our job and making sure we got paid that day.
Okay, let's talk about effectiveness. How is what you're describing, doing nothing for a day, how do you think that is going to change the minds of men who are killing women?
I don't think that it will.
So how is this thing going to be effective, in your opinion, here in Mexico? Like what's the wake-up call? What's the realization that people are going to go through? I mean, to me, it doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like it's going to.
Like, some of the teachers are like, we need to tell the parents if we're not coming, and I'm like, no.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the day. How is the day going to be effective as a protest?
I don't think one day is enough.
No.
Because they're going to say, oh, yes, a lot of businesses are closing that day. Like, there was a university who had already announced a week ago that they were going to be closed that day, which a lot of women were really upset about. Like, this goes against the whole entire purpose. We want you to see what it's like without us there. You men have to now do it all on your own without us.
Yeah, I know, but if you're going to do that, then don't make it public.
You have to make it public.
No, do it spontaneously.
You can't do it spontaneously, man.
How do you mobilize
How do you inform
all
other
the women across a country without telling them?
No, but
You see the problem?
I guess you wouldn't then make it a day.
Yeah, but that's just it.
You
You
make it known somehow.
See? You can't do it.
But
you gotta tell everybody somehow
March
without
9th,
telling them.
March 9th, we're gonna do this thing, because then everybody's just like, all right, screw you. We're not gonna have this thing open now. We don't need you.
In other words, you're saying that
men
are going to combat the idea of women not being there just by shutting everything down.
Yeah. So
well,
you're not gonna come into work anyway because we closing it.
But there is that potential.
So I don't know. There's not really a good way to do that.
It's a day without revenue.
It is a day without revenue, but it's also a day without incurring expenses too.
Yep.
And I think that's why we had to sign the paper, like, because they are saying you will get paid for this day. You will get paid, so they're still incurring the expense.
But see, what I don't understand is, what if I have a female-owned business, women-owned? I don't know another way to say that. Women-owned business.
Woman-owned. Yeah.
Woman-owned.
Yeah.
We don't say man-owned. But anyway, we had this discussion about how do we refer to people. But okay, so it's a business now. The women are not going to come to work, but that business is now also going to suffer.
Yeah. There's no good way of doing it, man.
No, I don't see
how it's going to be effective.
How we affect positive change in the way men think about women. Like, honestly, I think the target is correct. The target is the government, the police, especially in cultures like that of Mexico, where men, for some reason, think they're justified in attacking and going after women in awful, heinous ways. If the government is not doing anything, the police are not really doing anything, and women are saying, we need you to do something, be on our side. Okay, but I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if a day off really promotes the idea.
I don't know that
Does it bring it home?
I don't know. I do know that there was a discussion amongst the teachers where one of them had sent this big, long, ridiculous article written by a psychologist or psychiatrist saying that men who were physically abusive lacked the part of their brain that had empathy, and it was all chemical and it was physical. Like, basically, this was a laundry list of reasons why women shouldn't do this thing. It was, it's not the man's fault, it's the parents' fault, it's genetics, it's blah, blah, blah.
This is now we're getting back to the R. Kelly thing.
Right. It's just all the reasons why this person is, messed up.
They were basically saying
Sociopaths.
It's not their fault.
Right.
So not going to work one day isn't gonna matter. Whereas I was like, if women stood together and said enough of this shit, we have to make a change, and the government needs to support us in making the changes.
Yes.
That's how things start.
But this is where I have the problem. Women don't need to change anything.
No.
I mean,
well, yes, they do, because they're raising these men.
No, but women are the victims here. Why do women need to change anything? What are they doing? What are they doing wrong that they need to change? I don't think women are to blame for the behavior of these men.
Women are to blame on some level for the behavior of these men.
How?
Years ago,
explain.
when they were
No. Explain.
No.
Well, why?
Okay,
is that?
so we as mothers raise our sons to have a certain level of respect and limits. That's what we're supposed to do. And what I've noticed here is that the women allow their sons and their grandsons to have no limits. So I have a child who I have been fearful of his future since the first week of school. He's very dominating and controlling and manipulative. He grabs the girls and doesn't let them talk to other boys. He tries to physically manipulate their bodies. He's very cruel at times.
Okay, now.
He's very physical. He's very aggressive.
But is this a problem of women?
Yeah.
Or a problem of the men who are examples of this behavior to this child?
It's both. But when I tell the mother or the grandmother, when I express what's going on in the classroom and that these things need to be addressed, they don't address, oh, he's just a boy.
Yes, but do they see? There is no. Wait. Now stop. This is what they say to you.
They don't
not
do anything.
What they are doing in the home.
Aaron, they do nothing.
Well, you don't know what they do at home.
The
You're
behavior
not at home.
never changes.
No. Just because behavior doesn't change doesn't mean they don't do anything. They might do something. Now the question then becomes, what are they doing? Because what I've been hearing, especially about people here in Puebla, is the women are more overbearing. The women have the power in the family, and that's why men behave the way they do against women, because the women are more powerful in this culture here in Puebla. That's what I was told by one of my students. That's what I was told by a 30-something adult man, and that's what I was told that people believed when we lived in Tlalnepantla. That about this area, this particular area, that's what everybody blames women for the plight of women in Puebla. Women are abused because women behave as they're not only bringing it on themselves. It's more than that. It's the fact that they are the society, the city is, let's say the family is run by women, and the men are not as strong as the women.
So they have
and
to
so,
physically assert their dominance over
yes,
the woman.
and assault women.
I wish a motherfucker.
And that is but you're talking about you're not part of the community.
Right, and I think that's the thing that we don't. That's the part where I look at this and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to understand the culture. I want to participate in them making a change. I want to support them in what they're trying to do. But when they say, has anyone ever hit you? Like, the idea of a man striking me, the only man who has ever hit me in my life was my stepdad. And my brother hit me when he was younger, but he wasn't a man, he was a boy. The idea of a man hitting me is just so foreign that it's really hard for me to convey that.
But it's not foreign among American women.
No, maybe.
It's not. Women are assaulted all the time.
Yeah. But I didn't grow up in an environment where that was something that I saw or that I was told could happen. My biological father beat my mother. And I remember watching my mother kick his teeth out. And that was the last time they were ever... That's the last time they lived together. My dad never came back after that. But I saw him hit her in the face with a hammer.
But domestic abuse is universal.
Yeah.
Both ways. I mean, men beating women and women beating men. I mean, it's kind of what... a defining characteristic of the human condition. You know, it's kind of, it's not like it's in pockets. It's literally everywhere. It's something that all cultures do.
Mothers and as educators, we have a responsibility to identify that behavior in our young boys and then to stop it.
But this is what I'm getting back to, and I don't think you've answered the question yet. How does this event on Monday address that?
I don't know.
See, I have it. Anybody who knows me from Skiggy days knows that I absolutely hate the idea of the sit-in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I don't see it as a viable action to create real change. Okay? If you don't like a thing, sitting in really does not force anything outside of the fact that you are not participating in something else because you're now just sitting here. And, you know, I'm one of those people that says, stand up, stop sitting in. Okay. Now, it's kind of like what happened after Trump was elected. All these women, and I tend to believe that the very women marching against Trump the day after he gets in office voted for Trump to get him in office. Yeah. So I'm sorry, but you can have buyer's remorse all day long, but they did. It had a lot of these women had to have voted for him in order for him to have won.
Yep.
And they're gonna vote for him again. Just so you know, I'm calling it now. But the idea that we don't like who you are, let's say a Trump or men or young boys or whatever, we don't like what you're doing, but we're all going to disappear for a day. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow we'll be back.
21 million women have registered that they aren't going to work.
Literally not important because everybody is going to find a way to mitigate their absence. Right. Even your school is doing it. They've already come up with a way to lessen the pain.
Yep. Yeah, we had to turn in our computers and our iPads and blah, 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 so they could combine the kids into groups. And
how does this now make it safer for women in Mexico? How does this bring light to a problem that everybody already knows is a problem? This is, I guess, if nobody knew it, right? and that now you're shining a light on a thing. Okay, I get that. But everybody knows. Everybody knows this is part of the condition of women in this country. If that's the case, then you guys staying home from work is not going to help anything.
They're hoping that
I mean, take the day off, but damn.
they're
Really?
hoping that the estimated 37 billion pesos that it's generated by women in a day will impact the economy. But if it's only 37 billion pesos in one day, which is $1.9 billion, they're gonna make up for it the next day.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's like whenever they would do you can't do this thing on this day. What did you do? You bought it the day before, or the day after. Don't buy gasoline on this day. But you still gotta go to work and you still gotta do all your stuff. You're still gonna buy that gasoline no matter what. It's I think it feels like an empty gesture. And I think that's the problem. Is how are you by for example, if you stay home, how does that affect your son? It doesn't. Okay? But if you go to work, how does that affect your son? It doesn't. So what message are you really giving?
You here or you not?
One teacher said, my husband and my son are coming to school, but I'm staying home.
What does that do?
They were gonna come to school anyway. Nothing about
What's the point?
it. I don't see it as a viable way to get the point across to stop behavior that you disagree with.
Right.
The behavior that you're disagreeing
what-
with, this is not a viable way of dealing with
This
that.
is what the
You want to deal with it? You take that big back frying pan and you knock that motherfucker over his head until he don't get up again. That will stop the problem.
Yeah.
My mom used to say that. She's like, I'm small. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a big person, but you come at me the wrong way, you're not going to walk up out of here.
right.
You know, but, you know, why is it different for her in her generation
It's not.
than it is for
This
women now
It's not-
here? Why are they, I guess this is where you say women have to then dictate how they are going to be treated.
right.
If that's the case, you got a boyfriend and he puts his hands on you, you better make sure that he never puts his hands on anybody else ever again. But you'd have to know, like as a guy growing up in the United States, a teenager in high school, it never dawned on me to ever strike a woman.
I remember,
Ever. There was never a situation.
I remember one of our first dates, and I said something to you about no man has ever hit me, and no man will ever hit me, and you said, "Good."
I know.
And what I have said that.
What's your point?
I have said that to every guy I've ever dated. Don't ever, in some form, don't ever think you're gonna put your hands on me and live to tell the tale. And I actually said I was going to dinner with someone I had been dating just a short time, and he made a comment that just kind of like set off all the alarm bells. And I said to him, "Have you ever hit a woman?" And he said, "Well, yeah, my ex-wife." And I was like, "Okay, you need to let me out now. Let me out of this car right now. I'm going home, and don't you ever come back." No, let me out. And I called my roommate, she picked me up, and I never saw him again. Because I'm not going to prison because this motherfucker doesn't have any self-control.
Yeah, but that's just it. I
set the boundaries.
But do you think that women in Mexico take that stand in that moment?
No. They think, oh, it won't happen to me.
Yeah. And I think that is the way women behaved, that same sentiment in the US in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. But when we got to a certain point, early on in my time as looking at women and trying to understand male-female relationships and all that, so I'm junior high school, early on in high school, it became 100% not okay to be that guy from the 70s and the 60s. To be the guy that you're talking about. It became not okay.
Growing up, my youngest brother.
It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's just, it
it
became 100% not okay.
The guys didn't support that guy. The girls shunned that dude. Nobody wanted to be around him. But when I was growing up, my youngest brother was very physically abusive to me and my sister. And he would hit me with, he hit me with a metal pipe and broke my arm. He hit me with brooms and 2x4s, whatever he could find.
But what was it about the dynamic in your family that allowed that behavior?
I don't know, because when I would go to my mother and say, Michael just hit me with this metal bar and I need to go get an x-ray because I'm bleeding and my arm hurts so bad I think it's broken, her first response to me was, what did you do to him? What the fuck does it matter what I did to him? He picked up a metal pipe and hit me with it repeatedly. Why does it matter? You are the one who told me no man can ever hit me. This is your son and he's 5 years younger than me. If he's doing this to me, what is he gonna do to his girlfriend or his wife? And he ended up hitting his wife and she left him that day.
But what does that mean?
She allowed that beating to happen.
But
she didn't stop it then.
But isn't that the point?
Yes, she didn't stop it.
So how does the thing on Monday affect that?
That's what I asked the teachers. How are you going to use this platform that you have to generate change in the classroom, at home, in society, with your brothers, your cousins, your uncles, your husband, your father, all these adult men who have grown up thinking that this is all acceptable behavior? How is this going to affect them?
Hot grits.
Hot popcorn. My Aunt B used hot popcorn.
I'm telling you, it's gotta be.
That shit beds into your skin.
You can try this, but the consequences are gonna be so awful for you. Like, I've never understood the guy who's got the balls. Because all I can say is he's got giant huevos. The guy who can beat his wife or girlfriend and then make him dinner.
Woo,
I've never understood that.
You should never eat anything.
I've never gotten that. And you used to see it. You used to see it in movies. You used to see it in individuals. You beat the woman down
and then sleep next to her
and then fall asleep. So you're gonna eat the food and fall asleep in the same night? Are you out of your mind? It's like, what? And I've never gotten that. And I understand the response of battered women and blah blah blah, and they have this, they can't get away.
This fixer mentality.
But whatever it's internal. Not external, so they're not necessarily being controlled. They're controlling themselves.
Well, it's a combination.
Well, I'm saying, what's stopping that woman for, like I said, taking the frying pan up against this sleeping dude's head? Yeah. Nothing is stopping them. But them. You see what I'm saying? So
I wouldn't wait till his ass asleep.
To me, that's internal.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not being controlled externally. They're stopping themselves. But I would like to have an actual way for anybody to force their police and government, because what you're talking about the police to come and have they need to have the rules so that they can do something in those moments.
Yep.
I mean, the United States, I'd say we sort of have it if there's domestic violence now. It was not like it used to be where they would just make a person leave, then now there's more that goes into that.
they're arrested and whatever.
But and there's like holding them for a time so that the two sides can at least have a cooling down period.
Right.
Which I guess is
and
helpful.
one person could actually get away from the other person,
Right.
in fact, they shouldn't go.
But there's that side of it, but then on the government side, the prosecution side, they've got to have the laws and rules in place that allow lawyers and stuff to actually prosecute those cases, and they got to have the courts in order to do that. So there is that awareness that this is an issue. We need government to do those things. But like I said, Lorena Bobbitt. That's all I got to say. Lorena Bobbitt.
Do you know who Lorena Bobbitt is?
Yes.
You know, I don't understand. You know, if you do something wrong, why is it that you get to just walk around with no consequences? You did it. Like, you beat her, or you did this thing. You know, why is it that men, I get it in the past, I don't get it today. In the past, they could do whatever they wanted to do. Like, I watch Mad Men. Mm-hmm. They could do anything they wanted to do, right? In the 50s, in the 60s. But today? What? Why is it still being allowed in your country? Why do you think, in any country on the planet, why is it still being allowed? We saw the same thing in China. Why is it being allowed? Why is it that you as a woman are allowing it? Like, man, please. I can't ever see myself getting so angry that I strike a woman, but just the mere fact that you did that pretty much means you need to go.
Yeah,
like, for your own safety. Like, what makes you as a man think that you should stay?
I don't
because
get that
it seems
either.
like you're in danger now.
And
I don't get that.
I don't
absolutely
understand
don't get that.
the woman. I don't understand the woman's part of it. I don't get that battered woman syndrome, because it's a real thing. I guess because my mother always drilled into my head, no man has the right to hit you.
Until you started getting hit by her child.
Right, and he was the only one. And
But
then
the words don't match the action.
it doesn't. Now, if I told my dad, my stepdad, which hit my youngest brother is his son, that he hit me, he would do something. But my mom never did, and it wasn't until I was probably 17, I had moved out, and Michael he hit me. Was visiting my mom and my dad, and he hit me for something. I was like, all right, outside, let's go, I'm about to whoop your ass. And my mom's, you can't do that. And I said, wait a minute, you've told me my entire life not to let a man hit me. And he was huge. I mean, he was at least 5 or 6 inches taller than me at the time. I said, if he thinks he's man enough to hit me and get away with it, he's got another thing coming, and so do you. You told me not to allow this. I took him out in the front yard and whooped his ass. And my dad just sat there and said, I told you that was going to happen one day. I told you to quit hitting her. She's going to whoop your ass. And if you think you're going to hit another woman, your sister's going to be right there to whoop your ass again.
But he did.
And he did, and she left him. And then she called and said, hey, I left Michael because he hit me. And I was like, we warned you years ago that this was going to happen.
I know, but
why did you stay?
He has no reason to change.
Nope. Because my mother allowed it all those years.
Well, I don't know if it was your mother. I'm saying that.
Oh, it was my mom.
Because honestly,
if she would have whooped his ass back in the day when
let's
he first
let's go
started
back to the story. The story that everybody loves. One of my favorite stories. What happened the first time he smacked you in the face? Come on.
Aaron hit his hand so hard it still hurts my soul.
Okay, so why didn't your dad do something?
I don't know.
But that's my point. you see that you can't have. It's not necessarily on the mothers, the sisters, the wives to modify the behavior of boys of any age. Where are the men? Why are they allowing their children, their sons, their nephews
in this culture,
to behave that way with impunity?
In this culture, they do it because they were allowed to do it.
I know, but that's what
It's the
I
norm
think. I
here.
think that's my point. It's both parents have that responsibility to make sure. Because I mean, even if I had a daughter who was beating up on people, men or women, it really doesn't matter. That's my responsibility to deal with.
Keegan hit him for a long time.
Yes, but
That was dealt with years ago.
yeah.
But with Daddy,
Yeah. Well, you hadn't hit her, but then you had talked to Keegan about it. Both of you had, and then at some point you said, if she hits you, you have the right to hit her back.
Right, because we told him.
And then I did, and she stopped.
Yes, but we told him that he could not hurt his little sister.
right?
That's a different thing, but he was also what?
Twice
3
the
times
size.
the size of
you,
her.
Yeah.
you were at least 3 or 4 times the size
Okay
of her
then.
for
So
years.
I mean, it's a very different idea.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he could have just been playing and having fun and hurt a child,
Yep.
Yeah.
any child
Yeah.
that was that much smaller than him. But no, I don't see what they're planning to do on Monday as a viable option to stop that motherfucker that is about to beat his wife or beat his girlfriend or kill his wife or kill his girlfriend on Tuesday.
Or kill some random woman.
You see what I'm saying? I don't
Well-
see it as you're making a difference there. We
I
gotta.
know.
I think that's where I have my biggest problem is somehow, some way, the people here need to say no mas.
Right. There has to be some legislation. There has to be police action. Like my coworker who was robbed and raped in October, they never, ever looked for the guy.
Right.
Never. They
But
didn't
that-
even
but
attempt it.
Isn't that where the problem lies?
And then a few months later, she was walking home from work and walked past the guy.
Okay, but
And they never did anything, and this assailant is still walking around.
of
I can
course.
do whatever I want.
But that's what happened in the States. That's what happened in the States because most people, they were in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, so they didn't move. They didn't commit the act and then leave. They committed the act and then they kept walking around because they basically felt that they were safe.
Yep.
You know, who's coming after them? Nobody. You know, and then you get street justice. Then you get somebody who says something and says that was the guy, and then he gets beat up or
That's what happened to
he
him.
gets found in a ditch, and then everybody wants to say, "Oh, it's so terrible." It's like, no, it's not. That was the guy that is a rapist. That's the guy. You know,
Yep.
that he's the predator. He's the one that's wrong in this situation.
Yep.
But the idea that, you know, if you, like, so, for example, you have a police precinct, right? That's mostly men that are making the choice not to go find the guy, and all the women don't show up that day. How does that change anything?
Right. Well, and like for her, most of the police are men. They call in the assault. It takes the men 6 hours to even get to the hospital. There's only one hospital in the entire fucking city.
Okay, lots of hospitals here.
No, she went to the hospital.
I'm just saying, there's lots of hospitals. Some private, some public.
But she went to the public hospital. There's only one. And it took them 6 hours to get there. And then they didn't take her clothes. They didn't take the rape kit from the hospital. They didn't take anything. They told her to bring it with her the next week when she went to a different place.
But this is where the awareness of how you deal with the situation has to be modified in order to deal with that situation in a better way so that you can get convictions. Because if you're looking for conviction, then all of that evidence and all that stuff becomes a lot more important in a rule by law country.
Right.
This is not that.
Nope.
So because this is not a rule of law country, then you don't need just bring your rape kit with you. It doesn't matter, you know.
You don't have your panties because he threw them off into the woods?
Yeah, we don't need to find those.
Well,
that's not important.
Then we can't do anything because you don't have the panties.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't rape me with the panties on. He had to take them off.
I know, that's not the point. The point is that we do all of those things in our system to make a certain kind of case.
Yep.
Where it's evidence in a case against someone. Whereas if they're never going to bring a case, if they're never going to investigate, then all that stuff is not important.
Right. Why do I
So
need more
how do you
shit
make it?
this?
How do you make it important?
And I
You see?
think that they are trying by any means necessary to make their voices heard.
Oh, it's not by any means necessary. That's bullshit. By any means necessary means just that. People got to stop using that because by any means necessary means that you're willing to kill people
Like those
for
women in
this.
India
It's
who-
very different.
What is the women group in India where they wear all pink and they go and beat the shit out of or kill the rapists?
I don't know.
They go from village to village with this group of women, and if a girl or a woman has been assaulted, they go and find the guys
Yes,
and they
but-
beat the fuck out of them or kill them, and then they move on to the next.
But
Because the men
you would think
won't
that would
do
change
anything.
people's minds.
You'd think, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Because the men feel like it's their right. And I think that's the thing that's part of the raising of the boy and the man. Why do they feel like they have the right to do what they want to do to another human's body, male or female body? Why do they feel like it's they're entitled to force their will upon another person?
Isn't that culture? Culture
Yeah.
gives them that entitlement. Culture is what allows them to feel that they have that right.
And I see the kids.
I've never felt that way.
I see the kids in my environment, and I deal with a lot of super, super, super rich kids. Super rich. I mean, we've had rich kids before, but this is another level. And I see the sense of entitlement in some of these kids, and it's frightening at 5 years old.
Not really. I don't think
Because,
I
Bob,
don't think it's
I
frightening.
can see
It's what they want.
I can see where they're going to be at age 10.
Yes,
I
but
can
it's-
see where they're going to be at age 15.
But I think that in the culture, that is the norm. If you have money, you're allowed to feel entitled. But isn't that everywhere?
Yeah.
You know, a place where kids have a lifestyle that they did not earn, their parents worked for, and they have the ability to buy whatever, do whatever, say whatever, think whatever, with little to no consequences in their life. Isn't that what rich kids are? You know what I mean? Isn't that's just part of the life that they live. It's not until somebody who disagrees with that lifestyle comes in later on.
Well, I had one of the teachers this week was saying how there isn't a disparity in the U.S. If you rape someone, you get a certain amount of years based on that event. And I said, that's a bunch of bullshit. And she's like, no, I lived in the States. And I said, I'm telling you right now, if you're a white kid caught raping a girl and you're a university student, the judge can say, oh, you're going to get 3 months. But if you're a black guy, university student who made out with a girl, never had sex with her, and she cries rape, you get fucking 12 years. No, that doesn't happen. I pulled that shit up on my phone so fucking fast. I'm like, don't tell me that there is a standard and that it is followed, because it isn't.
It's never been that way though. And even among white teenagers 20-somethings, their economic status will determine how they're treated in the courts. So if
Oh, absolutely.
Fraternities also, same thing.
My
All of that
cousins,
stuff gets weighed. It
my
shouldn't, but it does.
my step cousin's sons were 17 and 19, and they were arrested for vandalizing a school. They had smashed up a bunch of computers and spray painted all over the inside of the school. They are considered adults because most 17-year-olds are tried as adults. For some unknown reason, these two white kids who had records as juveniles were given community service and had it expunged from their record. One of them was an adult. I didn't understand it. Why would they expunge it from their record? And they already had records. As juveniles, they had both been in juvenile detention. I could not understand. But a kid who was accused of shoplifting a pack of gum was given 3 years in prison because he wasn't white. I was just shocked by the same damn judge.
I don't know why that's shocking.
Makes me sick.
Okay, but I don't know why that's shocking.
The whole expunging from an adult record, that was the shocking part.
Because he can. And isn't that what it comes down to? You're racist and you can?
Alright.
What other reason would you have? You literally, the law says that this is wrong and you're not going to follow that because you don't want to, so you're just doing it because you can. At that point, if you're wrong in every sense of the situation, and most people disagree with that, it just came down to I felt like it. Right?
I can't argue with your logic.
Don't look at me.
I can't.
All right, what else you got?
Correct.
Is that it? Now that we're going on, 6 hours now?
Nope, that's it. We've gotta do our interview stuff. That's it.
I don't know what there is to do, but okay. All right. If you want to follow the Traveling Farrs, you can find us at the YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere that does podcast.
No, just these things.
At the Traveling Farrs. If you like Instagram and the Twitters, Traveling Farrs, the email address is the travelingfars@gmail.com. And the blog space, thetravelingfars.blueberry.net. No E's in the blueberry.
Go to the YouTubes. Like and subscribe.
What's
Hit
in
the bell
wait,
notification.
Wait a minute. What are you talking
Aaron
They're
is
already
posting-
on the
Oh,
YouTube
oh,
that they're
okay.
watching this.
Aaron is posting
But they might be
videos
listening on the blueberry.
or the iTunes.
The blueberry always comes out first.
Go to YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the bell.
To
Aaron is
hit the
posting
Don't hit the
several
bell. Ring the bell.
videos a week. Right?
Oh yeah.
Fine.
I'm trying to do 2 a day until I get caught up with all the old stuff, but I keep making new old stuff, so I kind of don't really ever get caught up. So yeah, I'm trying to do 2 a day until it's just new stuff,
Also,
which is gonna take me years.
you don't hit a bell.
You don't hit the bell, you ring
You
the bell.
ring it.
You ring it. You ring the
You
bell.
can ring my
Oh,
bell.
God.
Sorry.
That is. I don't think that's what she meant.
That's what I mean.
All right. I think that's it. That's all.
Bye, folks.
Say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to the people. Hey!
What are you doing, man?
Really? You're not gonna say goodbye to the people?
We can't end without a happy cat.
Cliffhanger my ass. Peace! If you want to follow the Traveling Farrs, you can find us at the YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere that does podcast.
No, just these six.
At the Traveling Farrs. If you like Instagram and the Twitters, Traveling Farrs, the email address is the travelingfars@gmail.com. And the blog space, thetravelingfars.blueberry.net. No E's in the blueberry.
Go to the YouTubes. Like and subscribe.
What's
Hit
in
the bell
wait,
notification.
Wait a minute. What are you talking
Aaron
about?
is
Already
posting-
on the
Oh,
YouTube
oh,
if they're
okay.
watching this.
Aaron is posting
But they might be
videos
listening on the blueberry.
or the iTunes.
The blueberry always comes out first.
Go to YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the bell.
To
Aaron
hit
is
the
posting
bell. Don't hit the
several
bell. Ring the bell.
videos a week. Right?
Oh yeah.
Fine.
I'm trying to do 2 a day until I get caught up with all the old stuff, but I keep making new old stuff, so I kind of don't really ever get caught up. So yeah, I'm trying to do 2 a day until it's just new stuff,
Also,
which is gonna take me years.
you don't hit a bell.
You don't hit the bell, you ring
You
the bell.
ring it.
You ring it. You ring the
You
bell.
can ring my
Oh,
bell.
God.
Sorry.
That is. I don't think that's what she meant.
That's what I mean.
All right. I think that's it. That's all.
Bye, folks.
Say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to the people. Say goodbye to the people. Hey!
What are you doing, man?
Really? You're not gonna say goodbye to the people?
We can't end without a happy cat.
Cliffhanger my ass. Peace!